Thanks everyone for joining us yet again here on December, the final Patch Tuesday support group, a safe place to cry into your beverage of choice regarding patching of the year of our Lord 2025. This month is going to be slightly different. As you can see, Jordan and Jake are joined us as usual, and they are joining us live from the headquarters of Patch My PC in Castle Rock, Colorado.
Oh, wait, we have a bigger neon sign than the one in my office. I got to show you.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I have it on good authority that they've spent most of this week together doing nothing but burning through SCUs on Copilot. That's beautiful. That's a thing of beauty. I mean, it's not focused, but it's a thing of beauty. And as such, Jordan he needs me to stall so he can prepare his wonderful stats that he often brings us. So instead of heading off to Jordan, I'm going to go straight into it and give you the news. I'm going to walk through. There's a lot of stuff this month in security. The last month, Ignite obviously happened. There's some big announcements post-Ignite as well that I'm sure we're all excited about. So I'm going to kind of go through that news. We'll end on some of those big, exciting things. We're going to talk. Then we'll segue into Jordan's super awesome stuff, and then we're going to come back and we can have kind of an open forum on, okay, what the heck does some of the stuff at Ignite and also after it really mean for us? So that's the kind of weird agenda today. So let me dig right into it. Okay, so first off, just some patching stuff for this month. I'm seeing anecdotal evidence that, and this has happened before, I think, that December's cumulative updates might be breaking IIS, specifically on Server 2019 and Windows 10 LTSB. You're like, who's running a web server on a Windows device? It does happen. There's some apps that kind of work that way in some weird kind of notion. It's all related to this CVE here that I'm showing. This message, there's an issue with the messaging queue, and so the CU came out. So very specifically, I'm hearing from people that Server 2019 is IIS is effectively broken. So as you roll out patches this month, if you are in that scenario, pay attention. I couldn't quite figure out if 2022. Some people have said that's fine. So just be a heads up that it seems specific to Server 2019, and it's also very specific to the KB that came out this month. I don't have the number in front of me, but that's the deal there.
Well, and that's too. I think this is actually, as a side note, I haven't looked at it fully yet, but I think this is the same vulnerability that they fixed like 3 months ago, because they had another one. They had the same thing with the messaging queue message for it that broke like 3 months ago or so, or 2 months ago for it. And this is a repeat offender, basically. It's a regression almost of that same thing for it, of some other ways to exploit it, it turned out.
I'm seeing Zach ask, does this impact Config Manager? Absolutely.
Yes.
Config Manager is basically an IIS service backed by SQL. I mean, the stuff we see is the UI, and the stuff we actually interact with is the very smallest part. The smallest part of that whole system. So absolutely.
All of your reports absolutely use IIS. WSUS also uses IIS. Messaging to be sent back and forth uses IIS for it. Like, it's all.
Yeah, I mean, the way the client connects to
is IIS. It's IIS web page. If you've ever gone to the MP web page for it for your points.
Right. So is it specific to 2019? That's as far as I know. I've heard people that have confirmed that they have server 2022, and I want to say 2016, and they have confirmed that they've installed the updates and they haven't seen any problems with IIS. But your mileage may vary. If you have server 2019, they're running IIS, I would just pay extra close attention this month as you roll those out. And again, I also mentioned that's also Windows 10 LTSB that's based on server 2019. Speaking of, there was an issue last month, I believe, with getting cumulative updates to install on Windows 10 that in theory should have a ESU applied. So go ahead. They released an update to the update to fix the updates applying. It's the world we live in. So just be aware there if you are in that scenario and you were having issues rolling out the last month's cumulative updates. This probably belongs in a different section, but just this was updated. So there's this is the whole BlackLotus thing that's been going on for years of trying to resolve this. The the secure boot certs are now expiring in 2016. So this isn't actually directly related to BlackLotus, but the certs that are being used, they are expiring next year. And so you need to make sure your boot media gets updated, and they've provided updated guidance here. I don't know if I call it out later, but ConfigMgr, the latest release, you'll see an actual specific button now in ConfigMgr in your boot images that say, hey, do you want to use the new certificates? My guess is you probably do, but I haven't. I mean, you definitely want to do that before they expire. That's for sure. I don't know if there's any negative impacts of doing that right now, but we can maybe get into that a little bit later. I wish I had a better, like, I don't want to post. I don't like linking to LinkedIn. And I literally asked in this thread, David, there must be a better communication here. But if you are using Autopilot, there has been this year-plus long-running saga of trying to get quality updates to install during the out-of-box experience. Literally a year ago, they said, here, we're doing this. And then the industry as a whole said, but we actually need control of that. You can't just YOLO these things. And they said, okay, they held it back. And then a few months ago, they said, hey, yeah, we heard you. We've got the fix. We're going to roll this out, and it's not going to impact anyone until you go turn it on. And then guess what? That wasn't actually the case. People all were seeing this getting YOLO'd again. So they've held it back again. So this is now the third time that we should see in the near future in out-of-box experience. You should start seeing updates get installed. The questions of, hey, is this available in Autopilot V2 or Autopilot device preparation? No. When does this occur? It occurs during the user portion of OOBE, not if you're doing pre-provisioning white glove. It does not happen there. If you are trying to do auto logins via Autopilot, like in kiosk scenarios, if an update that gets installed needs a reboot, that double reboot will often break that scenario. So just be aware of that. So all of that fun stuff. Oh yeah, hey, they say January 13th. I wasn't quite sure. So they're saying the first in January we should start seeing this come back into that. So that's super fun and exciting. I mentioned this. I'm going to go over some brief Ignite things. We actually did. If you want to spend waste another hour and 11 minutes and 13 seconds of your life,
31.
we did 31. I'm not even dyslexic, and I got that wrong. That I know of. We had a great conversation last week. It's all recorded and edited. Unfortunately, they can't edit us to make us sound any smarter. But hey, we're there. And you can watch this.
Button was for you. It was like, if I just that works, right?
I'm more curious how Brian watched allegedly 20 minutes of smoke alarm differences.
Oh, well, there's also that.
Dude, yeah, that's like 3 years ago. Have you guys not watched Tech Technicians? That stuff. I just watched their. I didn't even know. Apparently, he has a huge rant on Christmas bulbs. I mean, it was riveting. 33 minutes of some guy ranting about how Christmas lights suck. Now
I like it.
Yeah, I'm totally here for it. So again, we're not going to dig into all the next stuff. We already did that, but I do want to highlight some of the stuff that are going to be key. If you haven't heard, and I suspect you have, Security Copilot now is included in Microsoft 365 E5. Now, before you get all worked up about this, there's a very specific way they're doing this, is that for every 1,000 M365 subscriptions you have, licenses, you will get 400 SCUs per month. If you have less than 1,000, they'll prorate that down. If you have more, they're going to prorate it to the exact number you have, basically. So that is interesting and cool. I think there's still an open question of like, okay, well, let's say I got 10,000. Is that enough SCUs to do something interesting? Jordan and his team have been there this whole week, and part of what they were actually going to do. And did you do it, Jordan?
This afternoon, we'll get back to you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, they were going to go basically take a huge pile of cash and light it on fire in Copilot to see what they could make it do. So stay tuned. And at some point, you might have a blog or webinar on, hey, here we looked at Copilot. Here's what we were able to do. Here's what it costs. And I think that will inform this announcement of like, oh, what can I do with 400? Or I forget what the upper limit was. There's an upper limit of, I think, 10,000 SCUs that they were going to give away through this program. So it's not carte blanche. You don't get to just use Copilot as much as you want, but it is prorated based on the number of licenses. I feel like there's still leaves a chicken and egg thing if you aren't currently E5, and I don't think most of us are yet. It'd be an interesting poll to run at some point. Is this worth going to E5 for? Well, it's hard to know because you probably don't want to just start doing what Jordan and his team is going to do, which is light a whole bunch of money on fire to figure out if it's worth it. And so I feel like there's a chicken and egg, like, oh, maybe it's worth it, but I don't know if it's worth it unless I risk a whole bunch of money. So
well, it's $5,000 to test, for a month period, because you need at least 3 SKUs.
Yeah. So Anton, the joke somebody asked, like, well, what if I have this is why I covered the prorating thing, because someone's like, well, what if I have 100 devices? I was like, well, if you have 100 devices, you're getting whatever that works out to, like 0.4 SKU a month, which isn't enough SKU to ask how many SKUs you get per month with E5, right? Like, if you are under 1,000, if you are in the hundreds, low hundreds, it's not going to get you. You're not going to be able to do anything meaningful. That's why that's a real question that I think is still outstanding, and we kind of actually want to dig into. Like, what can you do with 400 SCUs? How many queries can you ask, and those sorts of things. Moving along, there is some interesting stuff in Autopatch. So a lot of I'm not going to cover any of the AI stuff here, other than what I just talked about here in Ignite. There's a lot of that, but there was actually, at least for me, if you take away all the AI stuff, there was some interesting things for us system administrators that came out of Ignite. There's a new update readiness report that is already, I think, being public previewed, or maybe it's soon to be GA'd. And it's basically just a revamp of Autopatch reporting. Very nicely, it's going to, very crucially, it's going to report on every device it knows about, even if it's not enrolled in Autopatch. It's going to tell you why things aren't, you can run a report and it'll tell you, hey, why aren't things installing the latest cumulative update or the latest feature update? So I've been watching what they're doing, and there's some interesting stuff there. They're going to give us, I don't know if there's a picture of this, but they're going to start giving us approvals. So basically, we're kind of getting ADRs. I mean, they're not really ADRs, but we're going to get the ability for quality updates, out of band updates, preview updates, non-security updates. You're going to allow you to set policies for those kinds of updates and say, hey, for this update, I'm going to release this on this schedule. That to me is exciting. .NET is coming, so .NET is going to be supported out of the gate, but they've specifically said we'll get .NET in there as well. This also allows you to target a specific update and pause it. So if you're familiar with the Windows Update or Autopatch rings, you would have to pause the whole ring. Okay, so but if .NET is the only thing that's causing a problem for you in the future, you'll be able to, like, I just want to pause this one update instead of having to pause the whole ring and say, well, we just don't patch anything this month. The other big thing is we're going to get maintenance windows. Now, I've actually known about this for a while. But I've been waiting for Microsoft to come out and actually really say it. But we are finally going to get in Intune real legitimate maintenance windows, not just active hours. This has taken a long time. I'm told it's going to cover cumulative updates. It's going to cover drivers. It's going to cover .NET, and it's going to maybe cover applications, ? And this is supposed to roll out Q1 of the next year. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's excited about this.
People seem to be really, really thrilled about this particular one.
Yeah. A little bit inside baseball. The reason this takes so long is because this needs to be something that the Windows team builds. I mean, the team that owns the Windows operating system within Microsoft. And they often tend to be consumer focused because they have 2 point whatever billion consumer devices on the face of the planet versus 200 million enterprise devices. And so there was a long running internal argument of Microsoft of, well, active hours isn't maintenance windows and we need that. And Intune couldn't just go build it, right? They don't own the Intune team itself doesn't own any actual patching technology. So they need to rely on other teams to do these things. So it's a long slog, but we finally see them coming early next year. And I know we're all excited about that. The other big thing that they talked about from a system administrative perspective is a lot of fallout from CrowdStrike. So there's three different things that they've announced. The Ignite, quick machine recovery, which was partially already there, but they're going to allow us to, within Intune, to have control over these fixes. So quick machine recovery, actually all three of the ideas I'm going to explain work this way. The device fails to boot. If it does that twice, it'll automatically kick into WinRE, which is a recovery partition. And crucially, the big thing about what they've done is WinRE is going to get the identity from Intune and your Wi-Fi profiles. So the idea is that when it hits WinRE, it's going to be able to connect to the network, whether that's a wired connection or a wireless connection, and it will be able to reach out to Intune and say, this is who I am. I am authenticated. Intune knows what this device is, knows what tenant it's on, all of that jazz. And so what we can then do as administrators is approve. Well, actually, we get reporting. So you get just reporting on, hey, I have these 100 devices sitting in WinRE right now, and they're broken. And there's these quick machine recoveries, which are going to be quick fixes. So this is really the CrowdStrike scenario. So CrowdStrike, there's a known problem, and there's this driver that's bad, and the service that kicks up and indicates that driver. Well, they can now put out a quick fix that says, well, we're just going to block that service, and you as the administrator can deploy that fix to your devices either ahead of time or really in that kind of event. And so the machine will come up and it'll say, oh, hey, there's this fix. It'll apply it, reboot, and we're good. If it's worse than that, they're going to actually build point-in-time restore. So this is the second thing. So you're going to be able to create a policy that says locally we're going to create point-in-time restores, backups, and then either on the device itself or through Intune, you can say, hey, here's a set of restore points that are on this box, and we're going to revert to it. That's going to take disk space, right? So think of these as VM snapshots. Exactly. It's snapshot for Windows. You're right, Matt. We're going to get that. And if all of that fails, they're building something called Cloud Rebuild. And basically, this is kind of a nuke and paves thing. So it's going to blow away the partition. It's going to download the version of Windows that you tell it to. So you can specify Windows 11 23H2, that's still a thing, or 24H2, that I know is a thing. And it'll go download that, it'll install it. It will hit Windows Update to download drivers that are there. You are going to then go right into Autopilot. So if it'll just automatically start doing Autopilot. It will then install the apps. It's going to, if you're using this other thing, what we're talking about, backup for organizations, it'll automatically restore that, and then it'll reconnect them to OneDrive. So that is, to me, quite powerful. There's some questions here. I don't know that it's full bare metal because it's tied to this WinRE having the identity from Intune. And I imagine if you swap the drive, that doesn't exist. Good question. Does it cost money? I think it's just part of Windows. I don't think this is not part of a new SKU. Like this is a Windows feature, not really an Intune feature, if that makes sense. Just the way I was talking about maintenance windows, the Intune team didn't build this. The Windows team built this. And so Intune is just building the management plane. I think all three of these things you can use outside of Intune because they're Windows features. So I'm sure you probably need Windows. What I'm fairly certain is you'll need to have a Windows subscription. So if you're not buying Microsoft Windows E3 or E5, I think it probably doesn't include this, but it's not going to be. It's not like a M365 E5 thing as far as I can tell. Anyways, all that
There's
stuff.
another one too, Brian. If it's for workstations only, I'm going to assume.
It's Intune. So I mean,
it supports Intune basically.
Well,
like
it's a good question.
It's Intune, right?
I mean, so yeah. So these are Windows features. The Windows and Windows Server now often share this a similar code base, and so it's a good question. I don't know the answer. In theory, sure, Windows Server could get some of these features. It's not going to be managed by Intune, but again, these aren't actually Intune features. These are Windows features for which Intune now has some management, adding some management stuff on. So, yeah, it's a great question. Conceivably, sure, this could be available for servers. But I can say that Microsoft definitely didn't say that. And so I would not jump to that conclusion, but it's a viable question to ask and get answered. Okay, that is the end of the Intune stuff, the Ignite stuff. I'm going to move over into, here's just a second. This is just a second blog on the same thing. I'm going to move on into security stuff. We may know November 18 as the day that the internet went down. If you were not aware,
a week later is the day that it went down again.
Yep, absolutely. But if you were not aware somehow, if you were on vacation that day, Cloudflare had a slight oopsie doodle. They released some configuration that was a configuration file that was larger than expected, and that crashed some other subsystem. It was this beautiful scaling failure that basically took all of Cloudflare down. Good, beautiful write up on exactly what happened and what they're going to try and do to fix it. But yeah, that was fun. That's a real thing. It happened. If you are using Fortinet products, specifically FortiWeb, there is a 0-day that was released. It doesn't really look too crazy to me. They call it a 0-day. I mean, it's a thing, but it doesn't seem crazy bad. It's the CVS base score is 7.2 over the network, but you need high privileges. And so part of me wasn't even going to mention this, but then, I tend to pay attention when CISA says you should go update this in 7 days. So they seemed worried about it, so it seemed worth calling out. There's updates available.
I say they're specifically worried about it, I think, because they are known to have big contracts together with Fortinet. It's the same reason as why with what's the other appliance that is out there commonly in the government space?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think it was the Ivanti VPN, was it? For it, their network tooling for it.
Oh, Ivanti. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think it was there. I think it's their network appliance for it, and I think there's one other network appliance that does VPNs for it that I can't remember what this named is, that commonly shows up in CISA stuff, specifically because those tools get used for end-to-end tunneling for stuff for it get put into CISA for it.
Fair enough. Not to be outdone, Fortinet's other products, FortiOS, FortiProxy, and Switch Manager, and FortiCloud, feeling left out. They also more recently got a set of vulnerabilities. This one's slightly
more worse.
Seems worse. It's CVS 9.1 over the network without authentication and no user interaction. So that all seems bad. Go ahead and go forth and update that. So again, if you have anything that's 40 star, go ahead and go ahead and make sure you get that patched. A couple of fun things. This keeps coming up over this year. If you are using these are mainly home routers, but we're all probably nerds here, so I like to call this out. If you're using some of the old D-Link stuff, specifically DR878, there's a bad vulnerability there. Same thing with ASUS. Again, these are ASUS routers specifically for DSL. There's a whole host of really fun vulnerabilities there. So if you're running any of that gear, you might want to go ahead and pay attention.
Well, and this is a good call out too is like, it's really difficult as we've shifted to the world of remote workers, right? Mm-hmm. To know what are my home users using for it along the way, and how do I convince them to go and update this thing, and then updating it to this thing that they may not have the technical ability to figure out how do I flash router firmware, because it's usually not fun. It's usually some dated OS for it along the way. It's hard. And sometimes companies will actually send routers or will send like physical equipment like to them, but like that's got to become non-scalable a lot of the times anymore for it. But it's something to share with your end users as well, right? It's like, hey, make sure these get updated. Yeah, the auto updates is a good call out, but like sometimes when you first buy them from Walmart along the way, that they aren't equipped if you've like bought it from Walmart or Sam's Club along the way for it with the default firmware for them.
So this was a super fun one. I don't know if you have thoughts here. Shai-Hulud. For those who are not nerdy enough, Shai-Hulud refers to the giant worms in Dune. So you might think, hey, Brian, we talked about this 2 months ago. And that's correct.
And we also talked about it 2 weeks ago because it showed up again on the last gigantic webinar that we did. And we're going to talk about it again more today.
Yeah, I'll give the summary from my perspective, and Jordan, you can fill it in. Basically, it looked like it's back, and it's really pissy this time. The rundown I got is like, if it can't authenticate, so the original thing is like, hey, it's going to run and kind of authenticate to GitHub and NPM, the package manager registry, and they were trying to steal your credentials and log in and basically put malware out there under the guise of a legitimate piece of software. They got pissy, and supposedly now if they fail, they'll just delete your home folder.
Yep.
Just like they're not even being silent about it. It's like, well, we couldn't properly infect your open source software, or you're not open source software, so screw you. Your home folder's gone. It will also then create a GitHub action runner, and it creates it in such a way that it'll run locally. And it runs locally. I can't believe this, but it's like it will run based on the discussion thread in your GitHub project. And so anybody in the world can then go and like make a discussion thread and put code in it, and that will get run on the local box of the maintainer or whoever pushed the PR. I mean, like, am I getting that right? Because that's hilarious.
Yeah, well, what it is because what part of the discussions functionality actually is added in for so that you can start to have discussions with like Copilot and AI. For it, for like when you're building PRs. So the functionality underneath it for like looking at it got added to look at those endpoints for it, basically. So you can be like, hey, no, you didn't quite get it right. Do this, right? So those endpoints now exist for the actions and runbooks for it to look at comments to then run evaluation on it to try to look and see if it can prep or produce or repo it. So if you write a bad enough one that's crafted badly enough, it can then take that input in for it, and instead of just like run a sanitization check or a sanity check of the code that somebody tries to suggest for it, just like, I'm going to go ahead and execute it. So we can totally find ways to arbitrarily run code that you didn't want us to run. It's great.
Super fun.
And the best part of this for it is like the best way to think about this a little bit is almost like basically being able to craft replay messages with min in the middle, right? To by sending it to your ConfigMgr server.
Okay.
Where you're basically sending here's the script, by the way, go run it on all those machines. And it's like, sure, I'll do that because that's what it's designed to do. It's using the tools to break the tools for it, which is becoming an even more common pattern for attackers right now. The scary thing about this in general, though, is how prevalent and why, which if you haven't looked, and I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, go read the list because the initial infection point was over 400 NPMs. And some of those NPMs are common core NPMs that are in thousands upon thousands of pieces of software out there for it.
And by NPMs, he means NuGet packages that are software that gets used to build other software.
Yeah. It was some of the big names it was in one of the React packages. It was in one of the CrowdStrike packages. There's actually 3 different ones. It was in a couple of Angular packages. It was in and then what happens is anybody that referenced one of those, any dev that ever referenced one of those packages for it
and updated
is vulnerable, which then propagates the chain to any other packages that they write.
Right.
Which is why it makes it an actual worm. It's why it's the first worm, air quotes, of its kind in this methodology, where it's actively using the literal reference chain inside of when you reference code packages to add them in for it to actually crawl and spread across the world.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So much to go through, so little time. ClickFix. We talked about ClickFix before. This is basically just social engineering attempts to get people to paste not good things into the Windows Run menu. I bring it up again only because there's a new, and basically they include, because there's this new way of doing it, they've able to now encrypt the stuff they want to run in the image itself. And of course, what image did they decide to use? Something that looks like the Windows Update image. And so so people are seeing this and they're literally told, WinR, Control V, press OK and enter. So hats off to that engineering effort. Again, this is just trying to get people to run crap on their machine. I doubt we're going to see this in enterprise, but it's fun. You gotta give. I mean, you gotta respect the game. Hate the game, not the player. This is another one. I'm not going to run through this whole thing because we don't have a lot of time. But the interesting part here is basically when they say 7-year, what they mean is this group created legitimate browser extensions that did interesting things and had no no malware at all. And then they waited for years until they got millions and millions of users. And then they're like, well, what if now we introduced malware? And kind of what this called out is some of the marketplaces for browser extensions only really vetted the first one. They didn't really come back and be like, every single update, did you add awful things? And so that's kind of the story here. But it's also just interesting to see somebody playing the long game there, which this definitely was. React to Shell was yet another big one. I don't know if you want to talk about Jordan.
I said this is the big one out of all of them. You can go ahead first, but this is the big, bad, gross one.
My details, my notes on this are basically it's a CVS S10, which is as bad as it gets. It is for something called React and Next.js. If you're not familiar with those, what those are JavaScript-based front ends, UI frameworks for lots of web things. So a good portion of the internet that you use is using React and Next JavaScript to create the UI. I mean, I forget if we use Angular, but Patch My PC, we is it React or Angular? Lots and lots of companies, whether they're public websites or internal websites, if you have a web portal, there's a solid chance that it's using one of these things. They got proof of concepts were almost immediately made available, almost immediately attacks were noticed. Cloudflare, the second incident you alluded to earlier, Jordan, where Cloudflare did it again a couple weeks later, they called out this as being the reason. So those are my notes. What do you want to add?
Yeah, so a couple of things here. So, like, for example, you mentioned Angular. So we do use React as a side note for it for some support. So we did do some extra research above and beyond on this. So it actually impacts 3 specific packages for it. It's not just like all of React as a whole. So, and I'm going to paste them in chat here for you in case any of you care about it from a dev perspective along the way for it, or you have any devs in house. It's going to be the React Server DOM Webpack, the React Server DOM Parcel, and the React Server DOM Turbo Pack for it. So it specifically is those 3 ones, and those are all server-side components of it for it. So like we, in particular, we were not impacted by this at all because we don't use those 3 particular packages because of the fact that we don't actually have client-server communication on that side of it for it. It's just a blank, dumb session, basically, that you load, and it's all done browser-side for the communication for us. We along the way. We actually wrote a thing about that in our Trust Center because of the fact that we use React for it along the way. But the way that this basically would work, and Cloudflare actually wrote a pretty solid article about it. There was also a really good article about it.
You mean this one?
News for it. Let me look and see what you got.
You mean this one? The Cloudflare outage on December 5th?
No, not that one. They actually wrote a different one because they had one before when they first wrote the protections into it. Because they first wrote a set of explained protections that they added to it. But I'll go ahead and I'll add this other one too here for it that has some fun ones to it. But at the end of the day, it's basically a remote code. It's unauthenticated remote code is the end result of it, right? Is that you could call and you could run. It's the same thing as the WSUS methodology for it, where you remember how we were like, oh man, this is super bad. You can use WSUS to run unauthenticated remote code on machines. Well, that, except for any server that was running those packages for React. It's a deserialization error. It's the same exact pattern as what we saw with WSUS for it, using deserialization of the DLLs on the underside for it. I posted the link there in the chat. I don't know if you want to bring that up there. You scroll down about halfway for it. You'll see there's actually a little diagram that it flows for. It's literally just send you a malicious HTTP request for it. The RCC runs it along the way for it, and the protocol for it then decrypts it and then triggers it via Node. So it's compounded between those 2 things. It's compounded between those React components for it and then Node.js underneath it for it.
Now, does the attacker have to wear a Guy Fawkes mask, or is that strictly optional?
That is strictly optional in this particular attack vector for it. But yeah, so it's literally but it's the same thing as the WSUS methodology. It's just deserialization inside of it for any publicly facing internet server running those 3 packages.
All right, awesome. So little time. I want to give you, want to rush through what we got left here.
I'm still stalling because we apparently released so many patches this month. I'm still compiling all the updates from our team.
Okay, I can only pause so long there, buddy. Well, I can go slower. So we mentioned, we're talking about
releasing so many updates. I don't know what to tell you, man. We got a lot of patches this month.
when we were talking about Fortinet, we're like, oh yeah, Ivanti also. Ivanti EPM, which is their endpoint manager. It's a CVS 9.6, no auth network, but user interaction is required. So yeah, it's slightly less. It's not the worst kind of thing we see, but it's not great nonetheless. So go ahead, if you're using their EPM product, you should definitely go and check that out. If you are an SAP customer or pretty much any kind, same deal. Some pretty bad guys up there for their solution manager, their Commerce Cloud, SAP Connect, and a whole slew of other things as well. So happy SAP times. That rounds out the security stuff. I'm going to move into some Microsoft news that has nothing to do with Ignite. So Wins, which I don't even know what that stands for anymore. If we might have some people that are young enough not even know what Wins was, but this is like pre-DNS Win stuff. It's going to get removed from server.
I was going to say, Brian, it's on the page. Like it was the
What's
second
that?
line. Windows Integrated Internet Network Service, name service.
Yeah, sure.
It's right there.
There you have it.
It's
There you
literally
have
on
it.
the first line of the summary.
Windows Internet Name Service. It is. Yeah, it's basically what they're saying is Server 2025 is the end of the line. If you are for some reason still relying on Wins, well, I mean, it's been so long since I had to deal with this. If my memory serves, there is some really, really old software that might rely on Wins.
There's some really old manufacturing. It tends to be manufacturing and HVAC type stuff that still requires on it, and weird IoT bits.
Yeah, exactly. So there, I don't think anything remotely modern this matters, but it is. If you have some really old stuff and it's running on Server 2025, you might go and turn off Wins and see if everything breaks. It's worth just being. I'm not worried about this, but I want to make sure everyone's aware that that's going to happen. This roadmap here. Windows Teams, chat for organizers, presenters, and structured meetings and webinars. So we have this problem with Teams that there was no we use Zoom and we can have side chats between the three of us. I guess that's coming to Teams. That's kind of nice. Sorry, there's some other Team stuff I'm going to talk about later, and I did not organize these together. But that's going to get rolled out early next year if you're waiting for that. Delivery optimization, another Teams thing. So Teams is going to support DO. You may not have known this, but Teams magically updates itself in the back end, more or less yeets itself, whether you want it to or not. And historically, that has not come over delivery optimization or peer-to-peer solutions. So every device is reaching out to Teams and downloading the full thing. That is now included in DO, which also means it's part of Microsoft Connected Cache if you're using those things. So this is nice to see in Teams. This is rather forward-looking. So they are saying that basically when you authenticate to Entra, which is basically Microsoft, login.microsoftonline.com. They're going to block any external scripts. So if you have a browser extension that's doing any kind of script injection, they're going to block that on specifically the login.microsoftonline page. This enforcement isn't going to come till mid-October of 2026, so we all got time. I don't know that this is an actual problem. I don't, maybe you'll see some errors if you have an extension that's doing some weird things, but I just don't know why you would be doing script injection on that stuff. Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, yeah, will password manager extension get blocked? That's a good question. Thanks, Matthew. I actually don't know the answer, but I'm going to go with probably. I mean, that sounds like what they're saying, but there's no comments on this. I will try and follow up and get an answer from that if I can. Let's see if there's any comments. Oh yeah, here you go. If your password manager doesn't enter the DOM or inject script in the page, should be no change in general. Okay, so they're basically saying if it doesn't inject scripts into the page, you should be fine. But yeah, you might have to double check that. It's a great question.
My bet would be the password, the ones that add a icon on the page in the field to like remind you that like you can click here to unlock or to do that, though they like that functionality like might stop working for it, but like the ability to like have the extension for it and then pre-populate the code for it probably will still work.
Well,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
call out 1Password and LastPass there. And I know 1Password does do the
Yep.
nice little
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
okay.
They don't pick up any violations. Yeah. So they don't.
That's interesting, though,
the
because
only thing I could think of that would violate it would be like the icon load for it.
yeah, and they say the DOM, which is the object model, domain object model. Forget what the D is. And like if you're injecting elements into the UI, then that's the DOM. So I'm actually kind of surprised. But anyways, okay, cool. I mean, glad to hear it, but also kind of surprised because they're definitely putting stuff into the object model to do that little check down. Okay, cool. Test, I guess. PowerShell 5.1. This probably gets to some of the earlier stuff we talked about, like, hey, people trying to get people to paste things into Windows Run. There's the update this month changes the behavior of the invoke web request PowerShell commandlet only in 5.1. It's basically going to throw a warning to the user saying, do you really want to do this? You can avoid this by using this, adding this use basic parsing. Obviously, if you have anything that's scripting in 5.1, you might ask, why is this specific to 5.1? The answer there is because PowerShell 7 uses a total different way of invoke web requests. In 5.1, it's using Internet Explorer, and because of that, it gets any scripting. And where in PowerShell 7, they don't use IE, and therefore there isn't scripting. So the concern here is that if you're doing an invoke web request in 5.1, it would be executing JavaScript. So all of that React stuff we talked about, or those kinds of problems that come in, they would be vulnerable in 5.1. As we're in 7.1, it doesn't run the scripts anyways, so it's a non-issue. So just if you have any automation that's based on web scraping and doing invoke web request, be aware of that, and you may need to go and change it. This is another Teams one. Sorry, I should have grouped those all together. Early next year, they're going to start throwing a warning for what I'm going to define as sketchy domain. So if somebody clicks on the link and they think it's a sketchy link, it's going to warn users and say, do you really want to open this link? This looks like it goes to a not good page. So just be aware that's coming. Chrome released their 8th 0-day update of the year. So I'm if Jordan ever gets his thing done, I'm sure he'll talk about it, but go ahead and
maybe next year we can go 12 for 12.
That might be a follow-up. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. We're still on we're on the 4th of December so far, so it's not looking good, boss.
Okay. So debunking the myth, cloud native. So this is just a good blog. I give it out there for your reading pleasure. There's a lot of concern when we talk about hybrid join, and do I need to do a hybrid join for config manager or to use this, that, and the other thing. They're kind of one of the big things that comes up as well. I need to access stuff that's on-prem, right? I have file shares, and no, I can't put that in OneDrive. All of these kinds of things. This is a good walk down to try and clarify some of that. Be like, yeah, I mean, there's problems, but it's not as cut and dry as you might think. And in many cases, I want to say mostly, if it's like based on Kerberos, you should be able to actually solve those problems. And so you shouldn't let those kinds of things hold you back away from moving to Intune. Okay, Config Manager and Intune. Config Manager just hit slow ring. So the 2509 release, which didn't get released until last month, was in fast ring and now is in slow ring. So you should see it show up in all of your consoles. There's a long list of fixed things, which is what I love to see. In terms of support, it specifically calls out Windows 11 25H2. Not that it wasn't working before, but this is a tested, supported version for that version of Windows. One thing I'm going to call out that isn't, you're not going to find this in the page. Based on our testing, you may remember from years ago that there's some scan source shenanigans that Config Manager team was trying to partially setting the scan source registry values, and in doing so, that's kind of screwed everything up. If you are using Config Manager you're co-managed, and you're doing third-party patching through ConfigMgr, know that the latest hotfix rollups for 2503 and 2509 seem to yet again be trying to set scan source.
And roughly?
And only partially. They are only trying to set 2 registry keys. We've actually managed to find the engineers, the lead engineer for ConfigMgr. They are going to resolve that problem. I was hoping they were going to do that before they hit slow ring. It did not happen. So just be aware, if you're in that scenario, pay attention to the rollout of the latest hotfix for 2503 or rolling out 2509. Pay attention to those registry keys for scan source. We have a huge blog. Sorry, I should have included that link here, but you can look up scan source patch MyBC. It'll go right to our website. There's 5 res keys you want to take a look at in the Windows Update configuration area. And if you are impacted, what you want to do is go set a group policy that sets all of them. I don't want to go too deep into this, but basically you either have to do none of them or all of them. Either that's fine for patch MyBC. We don't care, but you can't do some of them. And so if
some of it breaks terribly.
Yeah. If ConfigMgr is only setting 2 of the 5, then what you want to do is just go set a group policy or use some configuration item and go set the other remaining 3. And you can set them however you want. You can put them to Windows Update. You can put them to ConfigMgr or ConfigMgr. I don't really care. What's new in Intune? Not a ton. There's this Windows backup for organizations that we've talked about, and RudyX has a blog. Sorry, I should have included that. That's now GA. Sorry, they announced a whole bunch of AI agents, and so that's included here. And also, there's this new. The one thing that is interesting is in public preview. There's a new admin task panel. So tonight they talked a lot about this. AI is going to toss on admin tasks, but they're trying to create a single panel within Intune that lists all the things they think you may need to pay attention to. And so with that, I would normally hang it over to you, Jordan, unless you're not ready, and then I'll just keep talking.
Oh, there are a few things in the chat or in the Q&A here too, Brian.
Okay.
One was really early on, and it was like, is there any news on Office 365 Enterprise Monthly, specifically users reporting it not installing / failing?
Oh, is the monthly it's a monthly update for Office 365 failing to install? No, I've not heard that. If you're within a ConfigMgr environment, I will say it's always in my mind been a Russian roulette scenario. Of either, and it's one of 2 things: either getting ConfigMgr to download the metadata in the update, or the actual endpoint downloading the thing. Like almost every month on our SCCM, actually, it's been a while, so I shouldn't say that, but for a while there was almost every month somebody's either complaining about the
Office 365 download CDN would just be like
CDN. That was what I was looking for. There's a CDN problem, and you couldn't download it. So
there was a long time there where the CDN, and even still sometimes. Yeah, and even still, sometimes the CDN goes, especially right after Patch Tuesday for it, when all the ConfigMgr instances and WSUS instances in the world go, hey, hi, hello, all at the same time for it, that it still will occasionally go for it. But it's gotten better.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways,
one here. I'll go ahead.
I'm not. So I think I read the chat here. Yeah, I'm not aware of anything there. Sorry, no guidance for you.
You're good. We got another one. It's if I enabled connected cache on my distribution points, does server deduplication keep it from filling my content drive? And if I have any Windows 11 DPs, is there a way to dedupe on those?
Okay, so I have a blog called something like Full DPs, the greatest DPs, on my own blog, which I haven't written in since 2018. I would go check that out because dedupe and cache are 2 separate things. No. There's separate things. So you have single instance storage, but that's only at the file level. But then if you enable Microsoft Connected Cache, then it's going to do things at the chunk level of a file. And if you do dedupe and connected and delivery optimization or branch cache, well, it's more branch cache. I know if you do branch cache and dedupe, those 2 can now work together. Here's what I would say is I am certain that if you just enable Microsoft Connected Cache, you don't magically get dedupe. You'd have to go and configure that on the drive and go enable that. Does that work on Windows 11 workstation OSs? I don't know if dedupe is there. That's just if dedupe is there, then it should work. The article that I specifically wrote was using pull DPs, and I know pull DPs very specifically are supported on Windows workstation operating systems, Windows 7 back in that day, I think.
I did link out to your article in the
okay,
thread.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Thanks. But it's not automatic. You're going to have to go configure dedupe. Also, remember that dedupe is not officially supported on the site servers content. What's it called? There's a name for it. It's been just
the content
library. The content library.
Yep.
It's supported. It's supported on DPs, pull or otherwise, but it's not supported on your content library on the primary site server. Okay. Any other questions there, Jake?
Those are the other ones in Q&A, and I think you've kind of hammered away at the ones that were in the chat as they went along.
Okay, Jordan, are you done here?
We still have 2 more days of Patch My PC updates, but I can really quickly run through some of our joyous Microsoft updates. I will not have a Power BI dashboard for you guys today, but I will make sure that it gets up there by Monday for it, so I get it over to the team to get that posted, so that when we repost the rehash of this, that we can share that out along with some screenshots. So this month, in the wonderful world of Microsoft updates, there were 174 unique CVEs. If you look at that across all of the updates that actually came out, though, those CVEs showed up 1,820 times, including all the repeat counts. Hooray for it. In terms of what we actually had, there were only 6 that were critical this month, 72 important, 82 moderate, and 3 that were low. In terms of the types that we had 3 denial of service, 28 elevation of privilege, 4 information disclosures, 19 remote code execution, and 3 instances of spoofing. A couple of things to note this month in the wonderful world of updates for it. Most of the super bad critical ones for it are a little bit kind of awkward. Well, one of them is an Azure App Gateway. So if you're not using anything to do with Azure, actually 2 of them were Azure App Gateway stuff. So if you're not doing anything with Azure App Gateways at the immediate moment, there's not really anything to write home about that. Those were your 2 9.8s that were out there, though. And that is CVE 2025 64657 with an elevation of privilege. And that is CVE 2025 64656. The other one was for Microsoft SharePoint Online, but it's a little bit of a looks bad, but isn't actually as bad to a degree. There's some very, very specific scenarios for it in order to fix it. And also, because it's SharePoint Online, Microsoft already fixed it for you. So there's really not much of anything that you actually need to do. It doesn't impact the on-prem. It only impacts the SharePoint Online side of things for it. And that was CVE 2025 59245. There were some other bits in there that were kind of interesting. The Azure Monitor agent did have a remote code execution vulnerability in it. That was kind of an interesting one if you haven't seen that yet, but it's only important. It is still difficult from an exploitation perspective for it. Along the way, it requires you to be a authorized attacker for it, which seems weird, right? Typically attacks are, not authorized. But no, in this case, it requires you to actually have an authorization or have a token for it, and then you can actually go and abuse it along the way for it. The updates in general this month from a Microsoft side of things were, especially considering the past months, relatively tame, with the exception of some of the updates breaking things for it along the way. We are down to December 8th in terms of patches for Patch Tuesday here. So let's go ahead and we'll jump back over to talk about some of the joys of E5 and some of that Intune suite stuff, Mr. Brian, here for a moment here. And if we can get the patches updated here, then I'll go ahead and get those numbers out for people along the way. In terms of interesting updates, though, you already covered the one major interesting update, which was Google Chrome. There was also a pretty nasty vulnerability in 7-zip that came out this month. So if you haven't patched 7-zip and you're using it, you should do that along the way. And the other one that popped up was related to React and Node stuff. There was another Node.js one as well for it.
All right. So we kind of left this for last. The big announcement, post-Ignite, which was kind of surprising, this seems like the kind of thing they would do at Ignite, is Microsoft announced a major change to the Intune Premium Suite. Very specifically, the Intune Premium Suite and the parts of that suite are now going to be part of the E3 and E5. I'm going to put it that way, and I'll clarify in a second. Just so you know, I'm actually, if I wasn't in this call right now, I would be polishing up a whole blog that I've written about this topic. So I don't have a link to share with you, but look on Patch My PC's blog maybe later today or tomorrow, and I will try and walk through this and try to explain what this means and what it doesn't mean. But the high level is that EMS, Endpoint Management and Security, E3, that is going to get remote help, advanced analytics, and Intune Plan 2. Intune Plan 2 itself is the MAM tunnel for mobile devices and special device management. That's the Zebra and weird other things like that. So those things are part of EMS E3. And because EMS E3 is itself part of Microsoft 365 E3, that also gets it, right? So the way that this blog talks about it is really the M365 license. But if you are buying EMS E3 in any form or fashion, you are going to get remote help, advanced analytics, MAM tunnel, and special device management. The other part of the suite is all going to go specifically in M365 E5. It's not coming to EMS E5 or some weird add-on to security or this weird thing. If you want these other parts of the suite, you're going to have to buy M365 E5. And what that's going to include is Enterprise App Management, Endpoint Privilege Management, Endpoint Privilege Manager, and Cloud PKI. Those things will be only in M365 E5. The other thing that they're announcing is that both of those SKUs are going to have $3 increases later next year. So July 1st, the price will go up $3. And these features will roll out to existing customers. They're going to give you a 30-day heads up in the message center, which I'm sure everyone on this call every single day goes to their message center looking for happy, fun time news. And they will give you 30 days head up. And they're going to roll this out. The reality is there's tens of millions of devices that are going to get an absolute avalanche of data, especially as they enroll people to advanced analytics. And they're going to slow roll that. So sometime in the next few months, they'll start rolling this out. And it could take them several months. My guess is they'll be done by the time that they hit those price increases in July 1st. But we'll only really know. Some questions that have come up is, well, what about education and education? Nope. You probably already know this again. Should know this by now. You do not get the nice things. So A3, A5 are specifically excluded. There's, as I said, EMS E5, no changes there. What about?
Do you know if the government SKU is included in that, Brian?
Say it again, sorry?
Do you know if the government, the G SKU, is included in that?
That's a good question. I literally had that thought. I want to say they didn't call it out. So I'm going to go with no. Is it? Oh, it is? Okay. Well, so when we talk about education, it's A3. I know there's Frontline, which is F1 and F3. Frontline does not get it. Is it like G3 or something? Is that a thing?
Yeah, one actually I was scared about G5 specifically.
But like G1 and G5 or G3, those are real things?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Oh, okay. So there's two, somebody asked about the link. So there's two links that should both be in there. These are the two links from that Microsoft has. I have a blog and I don't, I will add that, sorry, whoever has the G3 in the chat, can somebody confirm that G3 and G5 has it? And if you have a link that says that, it'd be great. Because like I said, I'm literally stopped writing a blog to come to this webinar. So I'd like to add that if I can. So yeah, let me know. Anything else? Yeah, if you're buying any of the add-ons, so if you're an E3 customer, but you have the E5 security add-on, there's no word that's going to, Microsoft didn't say it's coming to that. I asked specifically, was told no, or I wasn't told no. I was told we don't know those details. We'll let you know later. What happens to the suite itself? If you are E3 now and you're like, I still don't want to pay 21 extra dollars or whatever it's going to be to get these features. I just want the suite. Can I still buy the suite? No announcement was changed. Was it? They didn't change that. So I think the answer is you could still buy it. I asked if that will continue to be the case, and I was told no. Or sorry, I was told they don't know yet. So unknown. Can you buy the individual parts of the suite? So if you're just buying Cloud PKA right now, can you still do that? Unknown, unanswered. So yeah, a lot of answered and unanswered questions. Some of it we know, A3, the education and the frontline stuff we know is no. The other stuff is to be determined. Also, this is all tied in. There's another announcement. Wait for the blog I put up, and I'll toss it in there. But Microsoft also announced that EA agreements are losing their discounts, actually right here. So I'd be interested if anyone on this is in the renewal right now. It has an EA agreement. I'll be interested to know. You don't have to give me the real numbers, but I'd be interested to know if you're actually being impacted by this. They basically said, hey, we're no longer doing automatic sorry, I should put this in the right place. There's automatic discounts you would get for having an enterprise agreement, and they're basically saying that's all gone. And so I'm going to, like I said, I'll go through this in the blog, but if anyone in this call is going through a renewal post November 1st, 2025, I'd be interested to know if you're seeing huge increases there. But okay. Any questions either in the chat or if anybody wants to come off mute? We're over time. So, hey, if you guys got to go, thanks again for wasting a perfectly good hour and 4 minutes. Have a happy holidays and, enjoy the New Year's and all that jazz. We'll see you in 2026. But if anyone has any questions or wants to come off mute, I'll try to answer whatever I can.
And then we can do that. Yeah.
And I'm just now finished compiling all the data, so I'm going to start ripping through some of the third-party. Might be able to actually get some of the data here, at least for browser wars. So let's see.
And you plan
while you do that, Jason is
like next week, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That to answer Jason's question in the chat there.
Yeah.
Oh, what was Jason's question in the chat here?
It's the same question we get every week. When do we get these Power BI reports that we can download?
You can download? I'll post the screen, but actually one of the things that we're doing while we're on site here this week is we're actually going to plan out, can we build this as something that people can interact with and make it programmatic so it's no longer relying on me to add for it. So
it's a single point of failure.
We've moved from, we'll work on that eventually to we're actually making a plan and we're actually going to start to prep out and write a feature and write out user of like what
whoa. Do we have a plan or just the concept of a plan?
No, we're moving to have a plan. One of the requirements coming out of here.
But currently we have a concept of a plan, not an actual plan.
Currently,
if you're building the plan, then we don't have the plan. So it means we have a concept of a plan that you're
There's
working.
a plan to make a plan.
Exactly.
Plan.
All right. I don't want to lie to people.
I feel like I've got a machine in a basement in Michigan.
It's fine.
Fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. No. We actually, like, one of the things that we are in fact going to work on here is building that out so that it can become, it might not be Power BI anymore, but it will look relatively similar to that and ideally potentially be in some way, shape, or form clickable that we can then integrate directly with the Patch Tuesday webinar page that we have, the Patch Tuesday outcome page. So,
awesome.
But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start running some queries here real quick and see what we can go ahead and get. Oh, the vulnerability that appeared the most this month was CVE 2025-13012. It appeared 110 times across all the updates that we have. That's fun.
While you scroll there, Jordan, there is
a lot of vulnerabilities, man.
Question that came in from an anonymous attendee. Random question about .NET 6 end-of-life updates. Do you guys usually update these in your environments?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. So I've actually been meaning to dig into .NET, the .NET Core. I mean, it's just called .NET now, but that's kind of confusing because people think you're talking about .NET Framework. Some of that stuff is in WSUS and thus ConfigMgr, and some of it's not. And I know the framework stuff is, so 4.5 and all that jazz. And they put some of the .NET Core stuff in. I just haven't gone down that rabbit hole to figure out how much of that is in there or not. So, yeah.
I think it really depends on like, do you have core applications that rely on it or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so two things, right? I mean, people are talking in the chat. Yeah, you want to get rid of it if you can. The question I have just is like, are there updates? Are updates for .NET 6, 7, 8, 9, and now 10? Are they in WSUS? Like, are they in the catalog, or do they come down through Windows Update? I know some of them do, but I just don't. I've never dug in to be like how far that goes.
All right. So for some browser wars, real quick here. This month, we have once again had Microsoft Edge winning and leading the pack with
Do you think you're sharing anything right now?
I'm absolutely not sharing anything unless you want to look at some VS Code with me. Here, we'll look at some VS Code with me. I'm marketing. I apologize in advance.
Okay. I just, you don't have to show raw numbers, but
Oh, I'm gonna show it.
Okay.
I'm gonna replace your current share. Let's see. Cool. So let's take a quick look here at some numbers. If I can get Zoom to move out of the way kindly. So Google Chrome currently has a whopping 12 updates for it. Microsoft Edge had 28 updates. Ignore that Firefox. I forgot to add ENUS, and there I forgot that wildcards are important. Firefox has a whopping 18 updates.
Why do we even do Power BI when we have this? This is amazing. Right? This is freaking peak UI right here.
I mean, and we can ask some other questions too. Like, we can actually do like result pipe. Let's go get some other fun things. Like,
we should make this K-Cool and charge for it.
I mean, could do.
What font size is that, Jordan?
Small, probably. We can do all kinds of things though. We can go grab different vulnerability data for it, and I'll ask all kinds of different questions along here for it. But yeah. That's our browser wars for this time around. One of the other fun things that I usually like to do here is to do some vulnerability groupings for it. Let's see if I can find this from earlier. Not that one. This one. Let's do this one, but let's just go ahead and delete this. This is a fun one. So this was apparently the most popular set of updates was right here, or this one right here. It's 2025 59595, and then some other one over there. I can't quite read it there. I have to go expand the title for it. But those ones appeared in a lot of different updates over the past month for it. They appeared 477 times. So this is when I'm talking about vulnerability depth, Brian. This is what I mean. It's when certain vulnerabilities repeat themselves. So like
it's a made-up number. Right, it's a made-up number, and you will not convince me of anything else.
I mean, it's fine. But this is one that's like, it's super prevalent across all of the products everywhere because it repeats itself across the count for it. Yeah. So whatever vulnerability that was, we should probably go figure out what that one was. I bet you we can. Let's go ahead and copy you.
Do a quick Bing search, right?
Let's go ahead and do a quick CV Insight search, actually. Here, let's go to CV.
Why don't you share out that whole process? That'd be interesting to see, too.
Paste you in here.
Just remember that you can stream us during your holiday get-togethers instead of a Christmas movie.
Well, that's part of secure access stuff, apparently. And hey, look, we have patches for it. It looked like too. That's fun.
Somebody asked about the URL for CV Insights. It's literally above. It's also just cvinsights.com, all one word.
Yep.
Or the App Store.
Yep.
Yeah, imagine that. We're in the App Store. Isn't that so fun? All right. Have fun, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll see you in 2026.
Adios.
Night.